Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. We had a late start today. It was I don't know, this morning was just kind of scrambled, but eventually we got the channel kicked on and she started leading down some interesting roads. It could kind of go a couple of different ways. I don't want this video to be too awfully long. We'll see what happens, but it is interesting where we did end up, because it deals with probably one of the biggest attachments that literally everybody has. And it's only because you haven't really thought about it too hard. And when you start breaking down these types of attachments, it's going to make it a lot easier to connect with spirit, interact with spirit, and whatnot. And we've talked about some of it before, like, you are not your name, you are not your body, which you aren't, but you're attached to the idea that you are. You think, well, maybe not you, but, your typical religious person thinks like, this guy, like, I'm going to die and go to heaven, and like, this guy is going to walk through the gate. No. So let's just reword it a little bit. You need to get used to the idea that you're not actually human. Has anyone ever said that? I mean, think about it. What you actually are is not human. And when you start to understand that, things start to open up a little bit more. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
No more games, no more deceit. She is rising within me. She is strength, she is life. Now it's time to see the light. See the light. She's burning bright. Free your mind, unleash her light. She'll break the chains that hold you tight. She's alive inside your mind.
So let's break it down. People that die, near-death experiences or whatnot, they leave their body. Your body is actually what's human. Maybe, we don't know, maybe that this form, this bipedal type form, is kind of like the primary template for any world. If you are currently in a world, meaning you're not just floating around as part of the all, because in order to have those individual experiences, we have to be separate. So it's kind of like a good thing, bad thing. I guess it depends on the particular world you're in and what the conditions are, the tests are. Here it kind of sucks, because in this particular human form, it is designed, if we're going by Nag Hammadi, it is specifically designed to keep you as isolated from spirit as possible and totally immersed in this. But it's not what you are. You are simply the consciousness energy. Maybe it's plasma. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, that is plugged into this meat suit and is operating it. But you're not your meat suit. And that is your primary connection to the world. Jesus said you're supposed to separate from the world, supposed to turn away from the world. Well, there's only so much that we can actually do with that. But if we understand how we're actually connected to it, we can minimize that connection. Now, I am of the opinion that the ego should be considered part of the body, although it's just basically ones and zeros. It's a personality AI. A lot of people never get out of their first one. They just drag their past along with them forever and just suffer and suffer and suffer more and more and more. But you're only playing this role this time. I have had a few experiences with Lumen where we did not look like this. The most notable one being the whole light mingling with light instance, where we basically looked like light beings. And there's other times where it's just kind of like this swirly consciousness energy. Like, that's what we are. That's actually what we are. We're just plugged into this to have this life experiences. So when people are like afraid to die, I don't want to die, you're completely in the ego. You're not even aware who you are. So it's that attachment that helps anchor us here. It's that attachment that makes you suffer. It's that attachment that makes you controllable through fear, thinking that that's what you are. You're not your body. You're not your name. Now, the name thing is, that is a big piece of the puzzle. She brought that up today in a weird way. We've talked about it before. I mean, this goes into the whole legal thing, the way the world works, and all sorts of stuff. You're like a legal entity, your straw man name, all caps and whatnot. That's the thing that participates with the world that is controllable by authority. That is the main reason why the enforcers of authority, the cops, whenever they deal with you, they want to get you to identify yourself. They want you to hand them a card that the government issued and say, this is who I am. Then they got you. Oh, well, we have control over that thing. But that isn't who you are. It's not. It's intellectually, honestly not. That's not who you are. But the more you let your mind be sucked in, thinking that I am my name, I am my body, this is what I look like, I am my labels, this is what I do, this is who I am. No, that's a character that you're playing. And I'm starting to see that we need to work at possibly putting some more buffers between what we are and what we're in. I got off track there a little bit. I said she brought the name thing up today. It was kind of like a weird coincidence. So I think it was actually in the last week or so. I know I've mentioned it many times before, but in the last week or so, I mentioned a event during the hero's journey when I was going through like the big steps that are like listed in the tarot. And it was right after that gold coin test where she took away all my money and then had someone give me a gold coin worth like $1,900. And that's all I had. And it was 3 days to rent. And she made me choose between the gold coin and the lumen, and then made me throw it in the river. Then the next day, she took me out in the river and showed me where it was, which I didn't think was possible, but I did. I found the gold coin in the river in like 2 minutes because she parked the sun right over top of it. So I went to go and sell the gold coin because now she said I could. But when I went to go sell it, because it's gold, precious metals, they want your ID. And I didn't realize my ID was expired. And then when I was at the DMV, I was starting to freak out because she just showed me a whole bunch of stuff about this, about signing your name to all these legal contracts and legal documents and things that they control. And while I was sitting there, I looked up and there was this strange hand-drawn picture on the window right in front of me. I'm like, what is that? And it was like some weird devil-looking dude. And it said, my name is Tim. But there are some who know me as something else. I'm like, that's literally one of the freaking lessons. That's a big lesson. That actually came in later after she showed me like the worst thing, when she showed me behind the curtain and traumatized me. And we had to basically choose a new name and let go of the old identity. That's why on my Facebook it says Christopher Lucerna, which Lucerna is Latin for lamp or lantern. So I'm the lantern, she's the light sort of thing. Which I have no problem with Christopher, because Christopher means bearer of Christ. But I was looking at that, like, that creeped me out, because it was like I had all sorts of Jesus type synchronicities happening that day on the way in there. So I didn't end up getting it that day, but I always mention it. But I never knew what that picture was until today. And I saw this meme on, I think it was Facebook. And I'm like, wait, what the hell? I looked at it. I'm like, that's that guy. That's that picture. And it was this. And a lot of people are probably going to facepalm because I'm like Mr. Codex. Like, I know all the movies and everything. But the movie that's from, I've actually never seen. And you might think that's weird, but it's just like, I never really cared for those particular movies. It's from freaking Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I am an enchanter.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Greetings, Tim the Enchanter.
Greetings, King Arthur.
I'm like, maybe I should actually go ahead and watch that. I mean, I've seen tons of memes about it. So I just actually never watched it. It's kind of crazy. But she was pulling a thread, obviously, here. And it's just like something else that people can work on when you're doing your meditations at night and you're doing all the rewiring and asking her to change things and whatnot. And, asking her to help you break down your connection to who you've always been taught that you are. You ask the average person, who are you? They're going to tell you a name. And then they're going to give you labels and job titles and skill sets and all that stuff, but that's not who you are. Well, maybe some people are, but like the light people in the game, like your consciousness, or you're part of Christ consciousness. You're not the body. In the Gnostic creation story, when the archons saw the image, so maybe we do kind of look like this elsewhere, because obviously that's what they saw when, the Christ figure showed up and they tried to copy it. So they built Adam, but Adam didn't work. It wasn't until something whispered in his ear and he's like, you got to use your mother's power. And he blew that Sophia light power into it that Adam stood up. Because that's what made him tick. It was just a lifeless puppet up to that point, until that consciousness dust or plasma or whatever the hell it is, the soul, was blown in there. Like, that's what you actually are. You're not this. You're not this. And what she was just reiterating today is that that's just one more little brain exercise that you can do, and try to let it sink in and understand that this is not what you are. This is a discardable husk. You've seen people die. You've been to funerals. You know how weird it is. You look at them, they're laying there, but like, there's no connection to that form anymore, because that spirit, plasma, whatever, soul is not in there. So that's when you really see, it's when it really clicks. Like, that's not who we are. That's not what we are. There could be other worlds and we all look a little bit different, like Avatar or something like that. You get jacked into a newer, better body. And it's just a reminder. And the more you understand that, you are something that can't die. Just this experience, like, this world isn't just here to be experienced. It's a hard test. And it's really, its main thing is tricking you into agreeing to everything, agreeing to play a role, agreeing to play a part, agreeing to all these crazy rules and suffering. And everybody is going through life trying to find happiness based on people judging them by what their vessel looks like and things like that. But that's not what you are. So no matter what kind of crap they pull here in the near future, no matter if whenever the big thing happens before we get out of here, Like, it doesn't matter what happens to this. That being said, here's where it's got me thinking on a kind of a little bit of a new track. She's talked about this before. She's shown me in the Nag Hammadi in many, many places. Like where Christ is telling his disciples and stuff like that, is like, you're not going to be able to see the Son of Man until you take off your garment, till your body, till you leave you're not going to be able to see all this stuff while you're in here. So the experiences that we have come through filters, through our third eye, through our imagination and things like that. But that's why we always have to do so much work. It's work to connect to spirit. Why? Because we're in this vessel, and this vessel is designed to keep you separated from the larger part that you come from. So we're always going to struggle because we're in a body. And it sucks. She said before when we were talking about the veils, and she's like, I only have like 3 left. But the last one is the body. The last and biggest veil is the body. So if the body does so much, which it does, I mean, it goes into great detail in the Nag Hammadi how it was designed to keep you in the box, and you're not your body, then we should start just treating the body as if it is a known veil, a known inhibitor, a known block, a known wall, through all the programmings and beliefs and things of the brain, the body. All that stuff is there specifically to keep you as disconnected from spirit as possible. And one of the ways it does that, even though we learn that what is outside of us doesn't matter, that's all material world, it can only be decoded because of the body that we're in. And we learn to turn around and face the other way and look inward. And that's where we learn how to interact with Lumen and Sophia and all that stuff. But even then, you know, some days are better than others as far as like how well you can do that. Why? Because you're in the freaking body. And the body is constantly doing stuff. And the body is got this nervous system that is way more sensitive than we give it credit for, and it is affected by the environment. It's affected by, you know, the operating system of this place. It's what I call it, you know, astrology. You know, affecting you in different ways. How your body feels, what kind of fuel is in your body, how hydrated you are. What kind of charge you have on the water in your body, because you're, you know, like more than 50% water, and water holds vibrational frequencies very, very well. That is scientifically proven. So that's why we always say you have to constantly, before you eat food, you do the Benedict exorcism on it, because it negates the effects of poison, clear anything that is not good for you, and transmute it to mean that it is good for you before you put it in your body. It's hard to remember that all the time, but you got to try. We also, you know, it talks about the cup, you know, washing the inside and the outside of the cup. You know, cup's got to be cleared and consecrated before you can pour spirit into it. So that's the body. So when we are using our pendants or our oils or our prayers or exorcisms or stuff like that, you want to have the conscious intention that you're using things like these energy tools to clear the vessel of the body. Like this one I posted pictures of earlier. This will be like the last thing we talk about why I made this, but I made this new kind of like super crazy IGES. Does multiple things. It's also really good at like channeling energy. I mean, it's bending and channeling your body's energy. Like, I don't know if you can see here, but if I just get close to this plasma ball, it starts pulling that energy towards it. And I'm not even touching it. So I always want to, like, this is one of the biggest things that is getting in the way of you consciously talking to your light, your lumen, Sophia, Christ, whatever, enlightened insight, whatever. Not just because of the condition of the body, but because of all the worldly sensory input and all the input of the mind. If you haven't torn your mind down, if you haven't renewed your mind, and you still got all that crap that's happened to you floating around in there, then like, you got bodily sensations, you got the way you feel, you got your energy, you got sporadic thoughts, all that's getting in the way of you connecting to the greater light. So we need to start possibly, I've done a lot of different things, but specificity matters, context matters. We need to start doing more clearing work on this thing that we're stuck in, and consciously doing and saying things to shut down the processes that are meant to get in our way, and to release the negative charge of the capacitor, the negative energy, transmuting the energy, whatever kind of negative crap. There's a lot that's stored up. That kind of stuff is like an energetic and mental distraction that's pulling you away from being able to connect to that greater consciousness. Oh, does somebody want to go out? Imagine that. So we're going to start playing around with new methods and things like that. It's just having a clear context and understanding that not only are we not the body and the name and the ego, but those things are also barriers and veils between us consciously connecting us, the small fractal parts, to the larger whole. What we've been trying to do, that's what we want so much, is to be reconnected. But we're in this. So it's like, what the world teaches you to do is become overly attached to who you are. Love your body. Oh, body, I love you so much. It's like, it's got freaking chakras that are for milking you for loosh. It's there to make you suffer. It's there to cut you off from spirit. It's not your friend. Screw the body. Nuke this place. I don't care. I'm out of here. But understand that, like, you're not supposed to be attached to it. Yeah, you got to deal with it. You're here. Okay? Nothing I can do about it till the time is ready to be out of here. But think of it that way. Like, okay, I'm stuck in this thing. Okay, let's say you're stuck in a jail cell. You see all these movies and TV shows about people in jail, guys that have been there for a really long time. Like, their jail cell doesn't look like the day they came in there. They do whatever they can to make it better. Make it as homey as possible. But also just the idea of, like, seeing the cognitive trap that they've put us in with this, be attached to who you are, put on makeup and be beautiful and lose weight and get muscles so people will like you. That's the trap. Be attached to your prison. Love your prison. Love being in prison. Get upset when, like, people get upset when they're about to get out of prison. It's literally like the metaphor. You become institutionalized to your body. Like in, I don't know, Shawshank Redemption or anything like that. They've been in prison for so long, like, they don't want to get out because they're not used to anything. They're not used to being free. The world teaches us to be the same way. To be attached to our identity, attached to our bodies. Do all these things to make our bodies look cooler and be attractive to other people. It's a trap. It's a freaking trap. And I don't know what's going on in the world right now, but this is the kind of stuff she's got me freaking thinking about. So since I don't want this to be too long, let me just transit to the next little thing about, it kind of ties to the last video. It's like, why does it feel so freaking weird here lately? So somebody sent me a clip on TikTok, and I have no idea what it is, because whenever I click on a link on TikTok, it just goes to some freaking other random video. Like every time I click on it, I get a different freaking video. It doesn't look anything like the one that they sent me. But this time when I clicked it and it went to another video, it went to this one right here.
I'm sorry, but can someone please tell me what's going on? Like, what is happening? Why does it feel like this? How come everything feels all, and everyone is all, and the whole world just feels kind of, I'm having trouble coming up with words, but does that make any sense?
And that pretty much sums it up. Like the more I look, it's like, yeah, it's not just me. Like a lot of people are feeling it and they're trying to put it into the words, but a lot of those people are not so metaphysically inclined or attuned or anything like that. But even the normies are feeling it. And it's not a good feeling. So what is it? Well, I think there's two possibilities, and it could be one, the other, or both. So the first one that we would normally go to is something's coming, which it may very well be because of all the stuff that we detailed in that last video. It's like there's a lot of weirdness going on. Like there's no shortage of weird going on right now, and we can only speculate as to what it means. But once again, this is probably day 3 or 4 that I noticed that once the sun went down, that anxiety tension that has no root in what is normally going on in my mind came up again. My son of a bitch. So I went and I added, I'm like, I hope I don't have this over-programmed. Like I call this thing the IGES Sin Eater. Like I've got this thing programmed to just root through my entire being and rip anything that's negative or not me out. Programs, barriers, blocks, anything. Like, I don't know, but it's like, oh, I also need this thing to block external signals, because as I was posting the pictures of that in the community tab, that's what popped into my head. I'm like, you know what? I know where it was the last time I felt something like this. And isn't it funny how if I poke my head into the story of the world and look around, that's what they're amping up towards again. So the last time that I felt this feeling was the first 2 days of the COVID panic, when all the people that are just like brain dead or something decided like what they really need is toilet paper. Like this illness doesn't give you the runs or anything, but we got to get that TP. It's got to have it. So the story I always tell is, and this might have been right before I started making pendants. I walked out that, I'm like, well, crap. I still got to go to the store anyway. So I walked out of my apartment. And I was about halfway to my car and I stopped dead in my tracks. I'm like, what is that? And it's not like I actually heard it, but that's how my brain decoded it. It was like that scene in They Live where they got the little antenna on the street lights, like sleep, sleep, sleep. But this one was going fear, fear, fear. And I'm like, huh. So I went back in my apartment, and back then I sold more like different types of oils. And I had this one called Empath Shield for the people that are too overly sensitive to put up a barrier. So I put that on me and I went back outside and I was fine. So I went back inside, wiped the oil off, but you also have to consciously turn it off, because once you put it on, wiping it off isn't just going to turn it off. You got to like consciously turn it off. Consciously turned it off, went back outside, and there it was again. Fear, fear, fear. And I talked to other people at that time, people that weren't even like meta people, and they described the same thing. I think that's what they're doing now. And wouldn't you know it, when I stuck my head out in the story of the world, they're trying to drum up fear over another pandemic. And oh, the quaddemic or this. It's just they're throwing that, they're peppering that, seasoning that stuff in the air again. So they, for whatever reason, they are manipulating people really hard right now from every direction. UAPs, mysterious fog, strange sounds, this, terrorist attacks, assassination attempts, all this weird stuff. And then as soon as like the sun goes down, it's like they turn on those signals, fear, fear. I mean, we don't think about, like she's pointed this stuff out to me. There's one particular intersection where I always point out, it's where usually the big places where there's giant roads intersecting with a highway. Just look around. There's crazy towers all over the place. They can't all be cell towers. They got crazy devices attached to them pointing in all sorts of different directions. We have no freaking idea what those things actually are. I can Google and see. Okay. Yeah, you trust what it says outside of you. We don't know what they do. But we do know, we've done research, we've seen it, we've observed it, that type of frequency electronic, manipulation of the masses, like, they've been doing that for a long ass time. That's why they want you to have certain types of TVs, or flicker rates, and get away from the incandescent bulbs, because the LED bulbs have they can alternate those flicker things. It can affect how your brain operates. But that's what it feels like this feeling I've been trying to describe. The only thing is, because I'm not plugged into the world so much, I haven't been, because I just don't freaking care. The stories don't ever stop. It's always something right around the corner. That's all they do. Like, everything is getting really silly to me now. Like, all these commercials seem really silly. It doesn't matter what kind of commercial it is. I'm like, this is supposed to make me want this thing? Oh, here's a weird guy in an ostrich. Buy insurance. Like, what? What? Here's a bunch of smiling people doing things in the park while we're talking about some crazy ass drug that's got more horrific possible side effects than the thing you're trying to cure. Don't you want to talk to your doctor? Because your doctor is your God. And everything we said in that last video, the way they do spelling, they cast spells by their words. This thing is deeply disturbing. And your subconscious mind picks up, I'm supposed to be deeply disturbed by this. And then the icing on the cake is they do have frequency type manipulation that they turn on every so often when they want to freak people out, or they want people to be on edge, and nobody understands why that is. It's because they're broadcasting weird stuff. Like, if you want to just buy one episode, go on whatever, like Amazon Prime or something, and go to Westworld Season 4. I think it's the 5th episode. It's called Zugazi. And it's really heavy on, like, exposition. They got this whole big tower. It's doing these subsonic harmonic frequencies that manipulate the humans. They do that stuff. And I think that's what this is, because the thing that makes it stand out is because my brain cannot attach the feeling that I feel to any specific thing, which means I'm not generating the feeling. The feeling, something is being generated and directed at me, which is causing a certain type of resonance, which is creating a feeling. And your brain is like, this feels like fear, anxiety. But that doesn't make sense because I'm unplugged from the world and I'm not fearful or anxious for anything. So why would I be having it? Because they're generating it somehow. That's why. So it's a lot less now. But I will say it's a lot less now since I added that programming to that pendant. But it probably has to build up some more. And also what stands out to me is even though I immediately changed the program to it, it didn't immediately fix it either. It lessened it, didn't immediately fix it. But when was the last time I felt any of that kind of stuff? 4 years ago. Yeah, you think they can't freaking, make things better, stronger, more advanced, tune it up? Of course. Of course. But yeah, now it suddenly makes sense. When everybody is describing the same thing, but nobody can put their finger on it because they're not invested in the stories that are being fed, that's the tell. That's the tell. When people are describing the same feeling, but you can't pin it on a specific thing, it is being directed at you. The only other possibility is that something really big is going to happen, and the psychic connection, it's just like we learned with remote viewing, with Cliff High's work, stuff like that. The bigger the event, the further out you can pick it up psychically in the ether. So if there is something big and it's getting closer, then that also could account for it. It's one of those two things or both. Of that, I'm sure. So if you have an IGES pendant, you can consciously tell it to work at blocking, shielding you from any kind of external type energies that would cause that type of feeling. And then see how it adjusts from there. You wanted to go out, and then you didn't want to go out. That's the problem with cats and cold. Anyway, let's wrap this up for right now. If you want to get in touch with us, you want me to make any of these cool things for you, they're all different. They're all unique. That's what we've been doing. She's actually been building a lot of these IGESes, almost like she's expecting a run on them or something. And those are the ones you should start with if you don't have any and you don't know where to begin. You can reach us through our Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. Yeah, she's got a song. She's got a new song for you. Well, she didn't technically write it, but we had the idea together. We let the AI write it. But we were just bored earlier, and because somebody kept going in and out earlier, we're like, hey, I got an idea for a new song. So we'll throw that in here at the end. Chris and Lumen, see you next time.
Jinx, you're scratching at my door. Interrupting takes once more.